Hey, what's up? You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show podcast.
Thanks for checking it out, and make sure you subscribed.
You're listening to the Hammer and Nigel Show on 93 WIBC.
My name is Nigel. Jason Hammer is here. Former Marion County Prosecutor Carl Brizzi has joined us. Counselor, how are you?
Great, thanks for having me.
Well, let's just start here, and then we'll move to the next question here. The Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears decided last year he was going to stop prosecuting marijuana possession cases. You saw that announcement come late last year. As a former prosecutor, what did you think when he did that?
Well, I thought it was a bold move.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't been elected yet by the populace of Marion County. Terry Curry resigned early. There was a battle between the mayor's pick and Terry Curry's pick, and the current prosecutor, Ryan Mears, was elected by a caucus of precinct committeemen. And so this literally came, I think he made the announcement prior to his election by the precinct committeemen. So I kind of saw it as, you know, part marketing and part sort of his understanding and the recognition of limited resources need to be allocated.
And it seemed like, and again, maybe I'm just running with the interesting group of friends here, but Republicans and Democrats feel like that was probably a good thing to do. I didn't hear a lot of negative feedback about that decision.
No, I didn't hear much negative feedback either. And in fact, I did an interview with Debbie Knox, and she was asking me how I would advise clients here in Indiana, elderly people who needed CBD and THC to mitigate some of these symptoms from Parkinson's and other degenerative illnesses. And so, I mean, I think it's coming, right? I think especially for the medicinal use and perhaps down the road in 50 or 100 years.
Recreational. Yeah.
Right.
We're not Colorado, you know.
But it's still, marijuana is still illegal on a federal level.
Correct.
I mean,
but they're not really prosecuting that. Especially the possession case.
It's like a jaywalking violation at this point. There's a law against it, but nobody ever gets arrested for jaywalking, really.
Right. And so this latest move by Senator Young, I understand both sides. I understand.
Before we get there,
yes.
What is the latest move by Senator Young? What's going on in the Indiana General Assembly?
Well, a bill passed the committee to essentially give the Attorney General more authority in Indiana and to prosecute certain cases if the county prosecutors decide in their discretion that they're going to forego prosecution. And so what it is I mean, it's pretty significant because it's a diffusion of the autonomy and the authority and the discretion of county prosecutors, which, you know, heretofore has been pretty much unchecked.
Well, for Mears to go and do that, you said it was a bold move. Was it almost like a kind of a slap to the face to some of the lawmakers here?
Senator Young's move was a bold move?
Well, no, Prosecutor Mears.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you said it was a bold move, and you would think some of the legislators were like, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that.
Well,
so we're going to do something about it and push back.
No, that's right. So traditionally, the decision and the authority whether to bring a charge or not is completely left to discretion of the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think what people had issue with the prosecutor's decision was a blanket decision. Right? A blanket decision to say, look, we know that this is a crime in Indiana, but I am going to choose not to enforce that law. I think that's where the legislators and some had problems.
See, this is where I have a problem because it feels like there are so many bigger fish to fry here in the state of Indiana. You look at what the crime is like here in central Indiana. You look at the infrastructure in central Indiana. There's lots of things that our lawmakers could be paying attention to. Nobody was complaining about what Mears did, at least very few. Very few people were complaining about that. Now, all of a sudden, we're trying to find a solution for a problem that I don't really think exists.
Well, not only that, but we have, like you just said, serious, and we have people getting killed every day. The murder rate has increased steadily over the past, 6 or 7 years now. And it doesn't look like anyone's really is able to figure out what to do about it.
The last 3 months, just in Indianapolis alone, and I can't speak on behalf of a state level, it's been record level in Indianapolis the last 3 months.
So if you're a brand new prosecutor, you're a young guy like Mears, and you've been in the office for maybe 6 months now, he has yet to face a general election. If I were him, what I would say is, look, we've got to turn the tide. You know, we have a limited amount of resources. Our conviction rates in the Marion County Prosecutor's Office have not been that great, to be honest. they've fallen significantly, along with arrest for serious violent crimes and a rise in those crimes.
Why is that?
It's an excellent question. I certainly don't want to pat me or my predecessors on the back, but we had a really good relationship with police. We were out in the streets. We had community prosecutors, community police. I think maybe that's part of the problem. When you look, you have to focus on the little things. It's the broken windows theory, and when you let those little things go unchecked, right? Whether it's broken windows, littering, prostitution, some people would say marijuana. Yeah. The big things tend to spiral out of control.
Did that Mears announcement put the IMPD kind of in a pickle, in an awkward situation?
Yes, for sure. In fact, the chief and the mayor were both sort of taken aback a little bit by the decision, and the police said, "Look, we're going to still continue to make these arrests. You can't tell us how to police. You can choose not to charge them, but you're not going to tell us how to police."
Former Marion County Prosecutor Carl Brizzi joining us. We got about a minute left here, Counselor. So just as a resident of Indianapolis now, not as a prosecutor, as just a guy that goes out and votes when it's time to vote, what would you like to see happen at the Indiana General Assembly when it comes to marijuana?
Well, here's what I think that Senator Young is tackling. I have a lot of respect for him. So there is a push across the country by billionaires, foreigners like George Soros and others, to elect progressive, very progressive-minded social justice prosecutors. It's happened in Chicago. He put almost $2 million into an Arizona race in Maricopa County to try to beat the Republican. And these prosecutors are basically coming in and they're literally making the decision themselves not to prosecute certain types of thefts, not to prosecute certain types of drug crimes. And so what that is, that prosecutor is circumventing the will of the people. And so I think I'm not entirely sure that Senator Young that this decision was based solely on the decision not to prosecute these marijuana offenses. He's come out publicly and said he wants to sort of stem the tide of electing people who have an agenda that's radically different than what we've traditionally dealt with here in Indiana.
Could be that slippery slope where, okay, we're going to go light on marijuana, exactly, and then we're going to go light on some other crimes, and it starts to snowball after that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you an example. One of the prosecutors that Soros helped get elected, and I'm not saying that our prosecutor got Soros money. I'm not saying that at all. I have no idea. I doubt it. But they said, we're not going to prosecute thefts under $750 if the thief actually needed the thing that he stole for his family to feed himself, to get a drink of water. It's mind blowing, and so I think that's what Senator Young has in mind. And weed happens to be the hill that this will be fought on.
Where can people find more information on what you're up to now?
Carl at carlbrizzi.com.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Be sure to catch us every weekday, 3 to 7 on 93 WIBC, or subscribe and get it right to your phone.